Thank you, Chairman. And thank you also, Mr. O'Brien, Ms. Wilbert. First of all, do you guys have a mission statement?
The department?
Yes.
I believe we do.
As relates to workers' comp? The reason I'm asking, if we don't know where we're going, we're sure going to get there. You know, to get back, something that Representative McKenzie brought up, the $17 million in benefit modernization costs. Last year when we were taking testimony, the Secretary said she had $15 million set aside for that. And earlier this year, we were asking if we could use that money for bringing the call centers back online, and we were told that money was spent on other things. And we asked if it was spent on the benefit modernization, and we were told no. Is that the $15 million plus an extra $2 million we've come up with someplace?
In our cash flow analysis, in April, I decided to move that $15 million into next fiscal year so we could spend it in this fiscal year so that we wouldn't have to furlough anyone else or reduce another call center.
So that 15 is not part of the $17 million? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is when the Auditor General did his report, we had projected spending $15 million of our budget. In April, I went to Secretary Mandarino and said, we're not going to have any deliverables this year for BenMod. Let's take that money, let's invest it in our workers, let's not have to furlough anybody else, let's not have to close any additional call centers, let's spend that money, and that's what we did.
So we brought it up to $30 million with the $15 million that we authorized. So you had $30 million for bringing the employees back.
If we would have spent the $15 million on BenMod, that $15 million we got in SIFT would have been a wash. I felt it was important to put as many people back to work and keep as many call centers open. And that's why I made that recommendation to the Secretary.
All right, I'll follow up with you on that. But to go back to the computers that the Auditor General brought up, you don't have backups for that data?
We do have a backup, and I will be happy to get you that information from our Office of Information Technology.
Thank you. So if the system crashes, we do have...
I'll be happy to provide you with that information, yes. It is an old system, but it is backed up, and I'll provide the chair with that information.
Next, the reports out on the graphic solution contract is $22 million. I'd like to know, because the Auditor General brought up $63 million over the next 4 years, I believe he said. Is that $22 million a year that we're talking about from the news report, or?
Let me say this to you. Here again, I don't want to violate the procurement code. When the deal is 100% done, I would be happy to come back here, walk everybody through it, invite everyone over to the Department of Labor and Industry like we just did a few weeks ago, walk you through everything. But I can't comment on the costs at this time.
Well, I think it's very important to us in the legislature because we're going to be the ones that are getting stuck with the bill. I think we should know that before the contract's actually awarded. I don't have a good reason why we shouldn't have those numbers because we're going to be the ones asked to pay for it.
When I can provide you that information, I'll be happy to.
Thank you.
Representative McKenzie, you have a follow-up.
Mr. Chairman, I do. So I just have a follow-up on the line of questioning from Representative Dush there. So, Mr. Deputy Secretary, $15 million was set aside for modernization in the 17 budget.
That's correct.
And there was a decision that you made in April of this year to move that money out of modernization because no modernization was occurring this year into operations.
That's correct.
That's correct. So that $15 million that was being withheld or held back for modernization purposes would have been available at the end of last year to continue the operations of the call center.
At that time, we thought we were going to need that money for modernization. When it came apparent,
So you made a decision to choose the potential modernization over employees?
we have no choice. We have to modernize the system. It had to be done. That was a decision the department made.
But it's not occurring this year. And so why was a decision not made at that time to leave the employees on instead of the potential of future benefit modernization, which is not even being realized?
Can I add that there is some, the federal fiscal year is different than a calendar year or the state fiscal year. So the upcoming federal funds.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Won't be available.
We understand that. But there was $15 million that was set aside, that was not expended, that could have been spent on keeping people on their jobs and keeping call times down for our unemployed Pennsylvanians. That was not done.
Well, whether
Thank you,
it's-
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I share Representative McKenzie's frustration. These are the kind of maneuvers that don't do you any good with this committee and this process. The shell game of moving money around at your own convenience is not acceptable with the people's money. And I will say that the continued parroting of the $57 million figure, I expect that not to be the figure you bring us on September 15th. I expect it to be a serious number and a serious conversation, because there should be a whole lot of efficiency and a whole lot of realization of efficiencies through modernization. And if you bring that number to this committee, I'm going to be concerned that you're not serious about having a conversation with us, because $57 million may have been a figure back in November, December of last year, but you all need to do a whole lot better. Representative Dush.
Thank you. And to follow with that, last year we were very straightforward. We are the sovereigns in this process. The fact that you've awarded and going forward with a modernization program with the questions we had last year and we've had again this year with the RFP, it's been stated over and over again that this thing looks like it's drafted for a single company. We had follow-on committee hearings, not with this committee, but with the policy committee, where we've identified South Carolina basically just over $1 million for another program on UC benefits modernization for $1 million. We're talking another $22 million is the lowest number I've heard on this thing so far. Now, this is ridiculous. We've got, these things are being done a whole lot more efficiently in other states. Our track record in this Commonwealth with awarding IT projects that are hundreds of times more expensive than what is being accomplished in other states, and the inefficiencies of the programs that we've had as compared to other states. It's an abomination. And the fact that we're coming back here again and again, that $15 million, we made it very clear that we don't want this thing going forward until we've got some serious numbers, we've got serious understanding of what the long-term implications, the cost efficiencies, what it's going to do with our people in the work center, the call centers, as well as our employees that are out there that have just been laid off in the private sector. None of those questions are being addressed. And we've been at this for over 6 months. Actually, it's closer to 10. And we don't have anything approaching satisfactory answers. I do appreciate you've taken what we've talked about with lean. I do appreciate that you're bringing in Carnegie Mellon. We're finally starting to do some things, but this is still being played as a shell game. We are the sovereigns. The legislature is the sovereigns in this. The fact that we don't know how much this is going to be cost, we're going to get stuck with a bill, that's an abomination. The fact that we're keeping our call centers closed when we had another $15 million, when the legislature's never authorized you to continue to do benefit modernization. And then you're going to come back and stick us with the bill. That's not the way this is supposed to work. I'm with the chairman. You need to come back to us in June with something better. Thank you.
Message received.